So the other week I was part of the TTS STEAM stream, and during the session I happened to mention about tinkering, about how it was one of my favourite lessons that I've done in the year. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share exactly how I did it in class. Part of the national curriculum is for children to understand the inner workings of a PC computer. So what does the RAM do? What does the processor do? And you could put a PowerPoint on sort of death by PowerPoint, tell the kids what each individual part does, and they'll sort of retain a bit of the knowledge, but it won't be memorable and it won't stick. That sticky knowledge, it won't stay in there. One of the best ways to make sure it stays in there and that the kids enjoy it is for them to actually physically look inside a computer. Now, I'm not saying you have to go and buy 8 PCs, second-hand PCs. What we did was I went on one of those, those waste saver groups where people ask for donations of things, like is anyone getting rid of something? And on Wednesday, we have something called Wanted Wednesday in Ramsbottom. It was just a small group. And I put a post, I'll put it here. I put a post on that my teacher and I wanted any sort of PCs that are not working, preferably not working because we're going to take them apart. And I had something like 20 messages of people donating PCs and laptops, and I think one lady actually came and donated 8 Tower PCs to school. So that's how we got our PCs. It's a really easy way. You could contact businesses or just put like a post on Facebook, and you'd be quite surprised how many little donations you might get. And it's a really good way of sort of collecting the materials, the things that you need. Then I also needed to bring in some screwdrivers, some of the smaller ones, so the Phillips ones with the crossheads on the top. And I brought in some from home, but I also asked the staff at school if they got any screwdrivers, and I think I had about 20 screwdrivers in total. I had to make sure they go back to the teachers that brought them in. But yeah, we had the screwdrivers that we needed for the lesson. So I had everything I needed, and I wanted to, before we even start tinkering and taking PCs apart, I wanted the children to understand what the word tinkering means, so to understand the concept. And I showed a really good video on YouTube. It's called Giva Tully Teaches Life Lessons Through Tinkering. If you search that on YouTube, there's a good 3.5-minute TED Talks video about a guy called Giva Tully, who basically, he has a school in America, and the children come to school. They're the same age as my primary school kids, and they're basically given tools and things, and they're just taught to create and make things and make mistakes. It's a really good message, and it really explains what tinkering is.
Exact moment that I started creating something called Tinkering School. Tinkering School is a place where kids can pick up sticks and hammers and the deep internal realization that you can figure things out by fooling around. Nothing ever turns out as planned, ever.
Before we got inside the PCs, I wanted to show the kids the outside of the PCs, so what the USB is for. Can we find any USBs on our Tower PCs? Can we see the auxiliary cable? Is there a VGA cable? Look at this 3-prong thing. This is where the power goes into. So we all had similar PCs, so they could all find these different components on the outside of the PC. Because I wanted to look at the outside first, because when they look on the inside, they can see how it's all connected, how the power cable's got this big brick on the inside. There we are, just a little way from some of my kids there as well. The back, sometimes they're at the front, sometimes at the back. There you go, sometimes at the front and back as well. So the big one here, that's what you plug your audio, your microphone into, okay? Now we've got some USB slots to connect things at the back here. And before we got started, I wanted them to understand the main things that they were going to find inside the computer. So I played this really great YouTube clip called What Does What in Your Computer? Computer Parts Explained. If you search that on YouTube, you'll find it. It lasts for about 6 minutes, but it basically explains the main parts of it, the inside of a computer. So what a power supply is, what a RAM is, what a CPU is, what did each individual thing do, and what do they do together, how it works. And it's really good to explain what things do. So when they look inside the computer, they'll be looking for these specific parts. Before we got started, I just had to mention a couple of things. One being that there might be some quite sharp things inside the PC, so we've got to be careful. And also the screwdriver, and because we're unscrewing things, we need to do lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, which is how I still remember in my adult life how to do it, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So we need to remember those things. And also we're working in groups of 4, and that we pass the screwdriver around and we investigate. And we had to look for these very specific things related to the clip and see if we could find them. And I'm going to get these screwdrivers. I'm going to hand out the screwdrivers in your groups, okay? So each group's going to get a variety of different screwdrivers. Some are bigger, some are smaller. But what you need to see what fits and opens up your computer. Right, so And then the moment the kids were waiting for, it was tinkering time. Time is it?
Tinkering time!
And then the kids were away. The learning that was going on was almost palpable. The tinkering, the thinkering, which I know technically isn't a word, but I'm going to keep that in. The communication and language, the STEAM work, the teamwork, the dream work, the vocab that they were using the word CPU, processor, and they were actually seeing where it is in the PCs and looking at other PCs and seeing what you guys have found. What have you guys found the processor? What's the processor? This must be the processor. Oh, what's this thing do? Let's take it out. Is this a disk drive? What's a disk drive, Mr. Ron? All this different language that was going on was amazing. And rather than me talk about it for an hour, which I could easily talk about it for, I'm just going to put a little clip of the kids talking about this and the actual lesson in action.
Found the CPU. I think that's the CPU, and then this is like the motherboard. The motherboard.
Where's the motherboard? Show me where the motherboard
It's
is.
this green bit found
What
here.
other things can you see in here? What else have you found?
We found the CPU.
Yes, when you put the CD in, you see that there, Talia? That's your laser. So as it reads the CD, you put the CD in, it goes like this.
So I absolutely loved this lesson, and I know the kids did as well, because they went racing out at home time telling the parents that they'd done this, we've taken this apart, we found these different types of things. And one of them did actually go home and tell their parents that Mr. Hunt said it's okay to take things apart. So if you do this lesson, make sure you warn the kids, and make sure if you go home, don't go and start taking things apart unless you've got permission from your parents. So just a bit of a warning. We also had a scream halfway through, so I had a big shout and a scream and a bit of a commotion, so I ran to the other side of the classroom, and it turned out we had a spider inside the PC. But yeah, the learning it was just fabulous, and it's these type of memories, this type of learning that I know the kids will remember for a long, long time, because it's something I would remember as a teacher as well, and I'm going to remember something like this in the future. What was really nice as well is that we had we found some SSD, some memory inside the PCs, which we then put inside. I've now put inside the other school PCs for a bit of a memory boost. And also all the parts that we've taken apart. So we had lots of plastic, lots of metal. We had a company that came in and took them away and now recycled them. So they're all recycled. All these parts that could be recycled have now been recycled. So it was just a fabulous lesson all in all. And honestly, if you get a chance to do this, it's not as hard as you would think, but the learning and the things that happen and the memories that you'll make with your children, it makes it all worthwhile.